네, 다음에 발표를 해주실 분은 저희 그 해시드 라운지에서도 예전에 뭐 비슷하지 않지만 뭐 IoT를 위한 뭐 IoTX, 뭐 IOST 이런 블록체인들을 소개시켜드렸는데요. 오늘은 글로벌 서플라이 체인을 위한 엑심체인을 연사로 모셨고요. 거기에 CEO인 홉 리우가 발표해 주시기로 했습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
So I want to apologize first for my sexy voice today. That's not my intention. I'll try to speak loud, but if you have any problem hearing me, please raise your hand or just make a gesture telling me to speak loud. I'll try my best. So 안녕하세요, 여러분. 만나서 반갑습니다. 저는 유희라고 합니다. My name is Hope. 유희라고 불러도 돼요. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Eximchain. Eximchain, we're export, import on the blockchain. We're building the first public blockchain that supports privacy, scalability, as well as security for enterprise to build supply chain applications. We have been start building our technology from MIT Media Lab since 2015. And so far, we have run 8 rounds of large-scale testnet for our blockchain across 14 regions in real time, not simulation, and we're developing our first proof of concept with a sourcing platform in China who has 30,000 existing small and medium-sized business users. Today, I would like to take the opportunity to explain everyone why what we're doing is important, why it's related to everyone's life, and how our technology can help to solve the problem. Is it loud enough? Okay. So, and if you think about what is supply chain, traditionally supply chains are divided into 3 parts: sourcing, produce, and deliver. So in the past few hundred years, the entire process changed a lot. So we used to meet each other face to face and make the goods by hand and then deliver the goods with, I don't know, trucks. But nowadays, we search each other's profile online and use machine to make goods and use even helicopter and drone to deliver the goods. So if you think how much the supply chain has changed, the supply chain management hasn't changed that much at all in the past few hundred years. As a matter of fact, every year there's around $5 trillion potential loss for shareholders in global supply chain because of the inefficiency and the lack of connectivity. So now I'm going to basically try to use 3 examples to explain why you meet some of those difficulties in your life and how are those related to supply chain. The first problem I want to talk about is the inefficient process. So at this point in 2018, it takes 6 pounds of paperwork to complete a global trade from beginning to the end. And even when you are using systems, most of the systems are not compatible to each other. So that's why when you check your order record in different systems, you find the different records in the order and then the inventory and then the account receivable platforms. That's why. And the second problem I want to address is the exclusion of small and medium-sized business. So according to the IFC estimation, every year there's about $1.6 billion unmet trade finance need, primarily driven by small and medium-sized business. If you're a big company, like Apple, IBM, there's no problem. But if you're a small guy and you have been trading with your buyer in the past 3 or 5 years, you know that you have delivered the quality goods. You know that the buyer is happy about you. However, the record is only kept between you and the buyer. You cannot use that transaction record to a new buyer to prove that about your reputation. And for a small size business with like annual revenue around $1 million, they have to accept the payment terms such as 60 to 90 days from big companies that have no negotiation room at all. As a matter of fact, in China alone, there are 40 million small and medium-sized businesses who who are short of financing, because with all the assets, including fixed asset, account receivable, payable, as well as inventory, the bank only recognize fixed asset, which are houses and cars that you can use as collateral, because they are not able to track where this order come from and who actually you're selling to in the end. So because of this issue, there are lots of small business that have problem scaling their business or even went bankrupt. So sometimes you order the goods and you realize that, okay, so I can't receive it in the end, and my upstream supplier or some of the buyer went bankrupt because their cash flow of chain cash flow broken. So all of this related to the problem that we talk about, lack of transparency. The lack of transparency in the entire global supply chain is essentially an information problem. So this is why in the past few hundred years, so what have we been doing in the past few hundred years? We go to agent, right? So we're relying on centralized agent to tell us who should we trust, who should we trade with, who should be entitled for credit, where this order actually comes from. So that creates the entire inefficiencies in the global supply chain, that upstream don't know what's going on, what's the real demand in downstream, and downstream don't know what is the inventory status in upstream. So if you order same goods, you'll find delivery time very different in several occasions. That's because there is information transparency issue across the entire supply chain. So the good news is that all the big companies nowadays have realized, oh great, blockchain could be the magic. So we have been seeing lots of innovations around this area in the past 1 or 2 years. So the innovation with IBM and Maersk, who are trying to track all the shipment record as well as the custom record through blockchain. So 2 days earlier, I read the news about Samsung SDS, who's trying to use blockchain technology to track their shipment as well. And for supply chain financing, so Foxconn has already penetrated to their tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers in China, and they're aiming to penetrate until their 8th tier of supplier. So everyone has come to the realization that, okay, so global supply chain and global trade could be the use case that blockchain can solve because of the trustless infrastructure as well as the fault-tolerant database nature. That's great, but the question is, have we seen who has used in your real life, who has used a blockchain-based product that improved your day-to-day life so far? No one. And none of those companies have passed proof of concept stage. And why? Anyone can guess why? I think actually Jun touched base a few of the points early on, so I won't repeat all of them. So the first thing about public chain, which Jun actually mentioned a lot, there are lots of instabilities in the public chain, right? As a company, you can't really run your transaction on the public blockchain when you don't know what will be the throughput or what would be the cost tomorrow. Also, there is no privacy on the blockchain at all. So as a business, especially for some of the large companies who are listed company, right, they really cannot risk to expose who they are trading with and what have been doing through the public blockchain. So that is the privacy issue. And then the second issue is about security. Okay, so companies don't trust public blockchain because there are so many issues on public blockchain. Great. So then what are all the companies doing now, right? They're either launching a private chain or a consortium chain with 10, 20, 100, 500 nodes, something like that. Well, I gotta say, not every use case should be put on the public blockchain, right? So if you are launching a blockchain or a database with all the parties that you trust already, also like bounded legally, let's say, for example, all of your employees, right? They have signed legally binding contract that they should do something, and you're just using them, using the blockchain to improve their efficiency. That's good. But global supply chain is an entire trustless environment that you don't know who you are trading with, and you don't know like the person who's on the other side of ocean, whether when they tell you they shipped the goods, they actually did that or not, right? So that's why for the private chain and consortium chain is not really applicable if we're trying to solve the problem that I just mentioned earlier. And then the third problem is not only about blockchain, it's more on enterprise-related thing. So think about if a listed company like Cargill, they have 5 million invoices every year. So are you gonna, if you tell them that I implement the blockchain application, are you gonna tell them to manually input all the 5 million invoices on your platform? Obviously not. So the existing blockchain solutions also didn't find a way to actually integrate with the existing infrastructure. And also, there are governance issues. So a company cannot just let the developers have their private key to send their transactions. You basically cannot, because the private key will control the ledger, the database. They essentially are trying to leverage on in the blockchain. So you can't let the private key flying around. You can't let everyone sign that manually. You need to have a scalable infrastructure. That's not only for blockchain, that's for any enterprise architecture, any enterprise infrastructure. So all of them have not been solved yet. And the good news is that we believe we have found a solution to address all those issues. So we are the first public blockchain that brings privacy, scalability, as well as security. So I'm just gonna dive in a little more about each point, how we're achieving privacy, scalability, as well as security. So privacy, our blockchain code base is based on Quorum, which is co-developed by JP Morgan and Zcash. So there is a privacy layer on Quorum. There's a privacy layer in Quorum. What it does is that your wallet ID, basically your public key, has to be included in the private full function in that smart contract, so that you and who else private key are included can use their private key to decrypt the payload information in the smart contract. To make it simple, so if you don't mention hope in that smart contract, that will become a private invitation only smart contract that I will never have visibility to. So basically, the Quorum blockchain, the entire network only reach consensus on transaction hash as well as the state of public blockchain. So for the private smart contract, only the participants whose keys are included in that particular smart contract will reach consensus, so that everyone is on the same blockchain, but some participants get the benefit of private smart contract. So the privacy layer is basically on military grade of security, privacy security level. That's why even one day if Eximchain collapse or touch wood, or the entire protocol broken, your information is still secured as long as you don't lose your private key. That's the privacy layer. And then in terms of the scalability. So at this moment, we have done 8 rounds of large-scale network testing that our blockchain is currently running with protocol, real-time, not simulation, with 600 nodes, 250 machines across 14 regions in several big data centers around the entire world. So all the work now is open source. You can check on our public GitHub for our large-scale network testing. So what we're developing is, we call it infrastructure as code, meaning that use our infrastructure tool or our infrastructure code, you can manage and deploy an enterprise-ready blockchain, not only globally distributed, also with sharded vault, where you can get end-to-end encryption to manage your keys in a scalable way, and also network monitoring tool called Terraform, which will basically monitor your entire network performance and make sure that when some servers are down and the other servers up. So all of those things that we're doing now is for enterprise, because if I'm an individual, right, I'm happy running a node today. Tomorrow, if I'm in love with another blockchain, I just close this down and leave it there. But when you're running a business, you can't just shut the business. Like, when there is network issue or when there are like server issue. So everything we're doing now basically is the entire package offered to enterprise that if tomorrow you want to be ready to use, tomorrow you have it. So the last thing about is security. So security, this is actually addressing all the problem about consolidated chain whereas how can you ensure your network security while you bootstrap the network from 500 to 2,000 or to 20,000 nodes? How can you balance the network security as well as the network scale? Right, so basically what we are developing is kind of unique. So we are using a federated consensus model and a quadratic voting-based governance mechanism. I know this doesn't make any sense, right? So that's why next I'm going to explain what this means. So we're doing a voting-based consensus algorithm. So when it comes to voting, so basically you have to answer the question, who to vote, what to vote, and how to vote, right? So basically our initial voters, right? So initial group of voters, and they basically will be selected from our initial token holders, which are the honest and trusted network that we have already validated. So if they want to become the master vote, the master node, they basically have to pass KYC, have a dedicated IP address, have a minimum amount of our token, able to run 24 hours a day without more than 1 hour connection loss. So they need to have certain criteria. But then those are their identities. But then what can they do? So basically we'll have each different governance cycle. Let's say, for example, every 2 weeks, those entire network will vote in one node who will be able to have who are qualified to propose a block. So meaning that whether you are qualified to propose a block or not, that depends on whether the entire network vote you in or vote you out. So that means if, let's say, for example, when we start launching the mainnet, we have 2,000 nodes, and the governance cycle, the voting cycle is 2 weeks. Then it will take about, if you want to take over the network, you basically need to go through like 25 years and coordinate with 600 parties to achieve that, which we believe during that 25 years, someone will find out that they're trying to do that. So that is what to vote. The voting topic basically is who get to propose a block. So and then how to vote, right? So how to bound token? So we are actually the first one experimenting quadratic voting based smart contract, meaning that if you want to put 1 vote, you bound 1 token. If you want to put 2 votes, you bound 4 tokens. So at the end of each voting cycle, the entire token in the pool will get distributed evenly. So if you don't care about the topic, you are still motivated to make 1 vote because you will get more than 1 token, a little bit more than or a lot more than 1 token if other people have stronger opinion than you, right? So you lose your opinion, but you also win the token, while for someone who can actually express themselves, who really want to express themselves and really care about the topic, so they basically pay more tokens, so they win the vote, but they lose the tokens. So that basically is developed by an economist in Princeton, whose name is Glenn Wu, in order to implement a democratic voting environment. So we're actually the first in the blockchain space to experiment that. So this is pretty exciting, and that basically help us to keep the balance between the liveness of the community as well as the network security. Okay, cool. So basically, we talk about our blockchain. So we aim to let our blockchain become the public blockchain where all the global supply chain business trust our database, trust the public database as an immutable ledger, and record their proof of business record, so that in the future, they can bring those records to their lender, to their banking, to their logistic providers, or to the buyers they want to pitch to show their credibility. So I have been pitching this idea to small and medium-sized businesses since 2015, and the lesson I learned is that do not pitch blockchain to small and medium-sized business. So the reason why we believe supply chain is actually going to be the first industry that adopt the blockchain technology without everyone knowing, because we believe it's similar like internet. So I'm sure like your mom and your dad use internet, but maybe not every one of them understand how TCP/IP works, right? So the idea is that we are working with the existing centralized service providers in each different field, in geographic location, quality assurance, order management, and shipping. So we are basically building the blockchain infrastructure for them so that the users they're having on their platform just see the magic, the new functionality, without knowing that, okay, without having to understand, okay, what does peer-to-peer network and asymmetric cryptography means. So that is our goal. And with the data that we mentioned, the proof of business record that you can use to show everyone in a trusted database, you can develop so many kind of applications, either to show to your buyers, show to your banking potential lenders. There are so many things that you can do to bridge the $5 trillion inefficiencies, potential loss in the global supply chain. And despite our own roadmap, we plan to throw lots of hackathons and developer events to encourage people to leverage our blockchain infrastructure to build supply chain, to solve those hard problems in global supply chain. Okay, I think now about half of my presentation, this is the time that everyone will probably start checking their Kakao chat. So I'm going to talk about something more light, no more quadratic voting and no more blockchain infrastructure. Talk about how I actually got into this space. So I'm going to share you a secret. I was actually 북경대 한국어 학과 학생이었습니다. That's why, but 많이 안 써서 다 서툴렀습니다. 죄송합니다. So after the 북경대 졸업한 후, so I joined UBS operations in Beijing, Hong Kong, and Singapore, where I spent 7 years handling cross-border transactions, where I actually learned that, wow, the banking system is really fragile. Your credit is not safe. Your bank balance is not safe in a way. And there are just so many inefficiencies. I realized my job is just operating on inefficiencies. And I always know that one day, if information technology is advanced enough, I will lose my job. So in 2015, when I was sitting on my desk in Singapore, where I was managing cross-border transactions for 14 years, for 14 countries, I thought that, okay, maybe if I don't break bad, maybe I'm too old. So I just decided to quit my job and went to MIT for my MBA degree, which I decided to look for the next disruptive technology. And it was really fortunate and unfortunate at the same time that I learned the blockchain buzzword the first class. I went in MIT Media Lab. And unfortunate was that basically kept me in a bankrupt status for the next like 2.5 years. Because no one was like really listening to us at that point, and I was also like using the wrong approach to actually pitch the hard technology to the end users, the small business who are used to do business in their way for like 20 years, and the technology was not there yet. So we were so broke that there was once I had $5 in my bank account, and I actually lost my first co-founder. His name is John Kisagwan. He's now the co-founder of the project Enigma. Which is also an MIT incubated project. So that was really hard. Unfortunate that I just jumped into the rabbit hole the first time I heard about this technology. But the really fortunate part is that it gave us really early foot into the game. So right at this moment, there are some C-level managers and strategists in global Fortune 500 companies. They would like change their flight schedule, just come to either myself or CTO, ask for strategy, ask for our opinion in the industry that they're in, because we have been building relationship and the people know that we're out there for a while. So in 2016, when we went through the plug and play accelerator, it was actually with some of the oldest blockchain companies. So that just gives us credibility. And I was really fortunate to meet my current CTO when in my second year. So I just basically I stopped listening to the classes. I stopped going to classes since the day that I started working on this project. I was thinking about deferring the school, but I realized that we need the MIT student loan to keep running the business. My professors, who are really amazing people, like Michael Casey, who is on the board of CoinDesk, Simon Johnson, who is advising like cryptocurrency policy for many countries, and Kristen Catalilli, who initiated giving Bitcoin to MIT students in 2013. They basically have been telling me, okay, Hope, go run the project. We'll give you independent study score. So that's how I graduated from MIT. And similar how I graduated from Buganda, where I just eat Korean food and watch Korean drama. So I'm never like a hardcore class guy. But quick flash over. How can I go back? Okay. So since we graduated, myself and my CTO graduated since last year, we have been making so much progress. So at this point, we are pretty confident about the testing result on our large-scale testnet, and we're also we're basically coaching some of the Fortune 500 companies, giving them coach to teach them how to use our tool to launch a globally decentralized blockchain infrastructure with privacy, with key management tool, with API connection on our blockchain. So, and next week, we're actually going to release the tutorial video that I was just talking about. So I was talking about, launching decentralized blockchain with the sharded vault, with the network management tool. We're going to have a series of 12 videos coming out next week, so please stay tuned. And since I have a special connection with Korea, although we haven't announced any of our partnership, today I'm happy to give you a sneak peek to do a live demo and give you a sneak peek about the first proof of concept we are doing now. Unfortunately, I can't announce the name yet, but I can quickly show you how we're basically using blockchain technology to help small and medium-sized business without them knowing that they're using blockchain. Okay, let's try this. Finger cross. Hold on. Start. Okay. Okay. Close the mic and let's. Can you go to the Zoom? So I'm in. You have to open the Zoom. You go to your desktop and open the Zoom. Yes, this one. You just need to type the 5070. Okay, running low battery. Let's try to. Okay. Yes. Yes. Finger cross. By the way, was my voice loud enough? Okay. Okay. Maybe to avoid wasting time, I'll introduce my team while it's loading. So my CTO, his name is Juan. I met him in the MIT corridor. He was building his Bitcoin casino. So I'm glad that I brought him on board doing more legit thing. So he's been coding since 13 years old. And he's like a good hacker. I think, So like some of the hash guys were in the, what's that, Luco challenge, right? When Juan was in the Berlin last month, and he was asked to take the challenge to prove that he has a legit supply chain use case. And every time other people raise a valid point, he need to take a shot of whiskey. So apparently he was not drunk in the end. So meaning that, he's technically legit. Okay. Not able to connect? Okay. 죄송합니다. Okay. Sorry. Now? Oh, okay. Okay. Can I finish the team introduction first? Okay. Let's keep. Okay, but I'm happy to show it. It's on my phone now. I'm happy to show it to people later. Maybe can we go back to the slides? Okay, thank you. Okay, cool. So yeah, and so that's my CTO, and so he is really young, but he has been coding since 13 years old, and we understand that we need people who can speak the company's language, who understand how to deal with the supply chain companies, and also have years and years of experience dealing with their senior executive, managing a product deliver that supports those Fortune 500 companies. That's where we got our head of business architect, who spent 14 years in IBM doing what I was describing. And I met him at a really lucky day. So during the old time, when no one wanted to listen to blockchain, I had to tell everyone about it without stopping. So I once brought my Uber driver for a sales interview. And James, I actually hired him when he was my Airbnb host. I told him to stop doing Airbnb since now we have better work to do. But James and Jia, they have a combination of 55 years in global supply chain. So they are people who can, the people we're bringing in to balance the technology and well as the business development, and all the other developers. They're also MIT graduates. And Andrew, he's actually Korean American, so he is in our newly created Korean Telegram channel, ready to answer everyone's technical question in Korean. So I will have lots of advisors. For the sake of time, I will not go through all their background, but so John is still my advisor, my first co-founder. So they've all been with us since almost 2015. So this is my contact. This is my contact, and I'm happy to show you the demo offline once if you're interested. Just use this opportunity. Want to promote an organization which is run by my marketing lead, Hongyo Li Xi. She's Korean. Unfortunately, I'm not. So we're running this. So she's running this She Blockchainers Asia to promote female entrepreneurship. So we realized that the female participation in blockchain is really, really low. I think in Korea, I actually see a much better situation. So when I was in Japan presenting an event, so there were like 2 speakers out of 32 speakers. But we think this space needs more attention, so we do host events in Seoul here as well. So we have a Facebook page if anyone is interested in joining. And there's so what I heard is that so many girls, they're afraid that they won't be able to get the technical details as easy as the guys. So I want to tell everyone that I really studied Korean as my undergrad major, and I didn't touch math since 18 years old, and I didn't learn coding one day, so I can still lead the hackers. So there is no excuse for anyone not participating. Okay. So 그럼 Eximchain 텔레그램 커뮤니티 참여하십시오. 그 새로운 한국말 웹사이트를 만들어요. I just have one last word before I take your question. Is that okay? I'm just very excited to come back. So 저는 12년 전에 한국에서 반년간 동안 살았습니다. 그 12년간 참 많은 것이 변한 것 같아요. 이때 혼자 있는 송혜교 씨가 지금 송종기 씨랑 결혼했군요. 이렇게 변한 것이 이렇게 많은 것이 바꾸지만 그 한편으로 바꾸지 않는 것이 그 대한민국의 궁금한 관리입니다. 저는 처음에 한국에 도착했을 때 인생에 무엇을 할지 모르는 대학교 학생에 불과합니다. 그러나 Eximchain과 함께한 이후로 제 인생 목표가 확신해졌습니다. 지금 대한민국도 Eximchain과 함께한 그 궁금한 관리에 큰 혁신을 가져올 날이 멀지 않다고 생각합니다. It's a hard word. So 그것이 그럼 여러분은 우리 한 그런 텔레그램 채널을 참여하고 그 다음 주 이벤트하고 기술 발표도 기대하시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다. 지금 질문 받겠습니다. I can take your question.
All right.
I think yeah. Oh yeah, your question. Okay. The last part is not important. Sure. Maybe I'll answer the competition first. Actually, don't really see things as competition because, like the public, first of all, we build on top of Quorum, which is essentially a fork of Ethereum with privacy. So we are forking them and add on top of our quadratic voting consensus, which is created for enterprise, and also all of our other like consensus algorithm. I think in this space, we should like contribute on top of each other's work. So we are solving like a specific industry, and we've been trying to understand like how we can help them since 2015, and we know that we basically tailor-made this blockchain and our consensus model as well as all the other packages. So it's like, so first time when Steve Jobs sold the computer, he sold the computer chip, and he realized he needed to have the entire computer, right? So we don't really want to defend. So, but when we do client pitching, we're just saying that, okay, so we do proof of concept now, we run on testnet. So the app on my phone is actually running on the testnet with our client. Once we launch our mainnet, we have all the entire tool. And also when you scale, today you want 5 nodes, tomorrow you have 500 nodes, right? No problem. And there's no downtime. You can monitor that. I mean, just like we want to just to give a ready-to-use product, not a computer chip. Because if you only give a blockchain, you can't really, it's just a database. You can't really use it for anything, right? So what we're doing, some of them are innovative, but a lot of them we're like contributing on top of other people's work to make sure that we address the area that we understand the pain, that we have confidence to solve the issue and quickly solve the customer. And then your question is that then how do you onboard customer, right? So my plan is not basically to pitch to small, medium-sized business. So I realized that's not my strongest suit to explain the technology to them. So what we're doing actually, so for the proof of concept partner, they already have 30,000 small, medium-sized business. It's a sourcing platform. So what we're doing is called proof of quality. So all the buyers, right, they hire a quality assurance company, right, and to do inspection, right, for supplier. After that, that data just throw away, right? It's really a shame that that information, like the suppliers cannot use those information to build their reputation, right? So we're essentially building the proof of quality with them so that all their users, right, can have that functionality. So basically what they will see is additional functionality on top of that. So that is one way we're working with existing providers, and we're trying to give them as straightforward as possible, especially if they have an API. We can literally like connect their API with our Oracle database. Although we're hoping that in the future, it's not gonna be us holding the API for them. We're not trying to like eat their lunch. They should be hosting their API. It's still their business. So we'll become their blockchain infrastructure to support the proof that they're trying to deliver extra value to the client. And the other side is to partner with like some big companies, some Fortune 500 companies who have their very large scale of supplier network, right? So essentially, you're thinking about you're working with one company, you're actually using the anchor buys, their power to onboard like a large scale of suppliers. So in a way, basically, I think I was talking about 2 ways, but eventually it's all about one way. It's like work with the existing platform providers or existing players to make sure that the customers, they don't really change their existing flow. If they're using platform A, they're still using platform A, and they're talking to B, they're still talking to B. So just like adopting the internet, so we don't really want to explain TCP/IP to everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. One more question.
Thank you. Sure. I think for supply chain companies, actually relatively easy pitch to them based on the inefficiencies that we're talking about. Let's say, for example, you think about if we consider this as a big buyer, let's say Samsung, right? So Samsung, they have their first tier supplier. So Samsung has a contract with this first tier supplier, right? And then this is their second tier supplier, right? So the first tier supplier in China, they can tell the bank, look, I have a contract with Samsung, right? So give me the loan so that I can manage the cash account, right? My cash turnaround. So the second tier, they can maybe get some loan by collateral their house and factory because the thing is, this guy, the second tier supplier who provides raw material for this guy to manufacture and then provide to Samsung, right? He doesn't have a direct contract to Samsung, right? He can't tell the bank, I have a contract with this guy, and then this guy will not provide the contract with Samsung. Also, like the semiconductor, there are thousands, millions of kinds, right? Which order are you talking about, right? Because they also produce for other buyers, right? So there's no way that with the existing infrastructure for anyone, for buyer to track. Even the anchor buyers, they have less visibility as long as they have less and less visibility as long as the chain goes on. Let's say Foxconn, they have 8 tiers of supplier in China. Like every day, their financing platform come to them. Is this guy your supplier? Is this guy supplier? I have no idea. I only contract with first tier supplier. But if you think about how poor the small guys is, right? The more upstream you are, the earlier you have to deliver the product, and also the later you get paid. If no one actually covers the money, the cash flow for you. So it's actually a win-win for every single person in the entire ecosystem. For suppliers, they can prove that eventually this good is actually to a buyer, right? We should be able to leverage the buyer's credit to get loan instead of putting my house or like factory as collateral. For the anchor buyer, this is actually helps them to keep the stability of supply chain so that was that phone called Samsung Galaxy Note? Was the phone that exploded? So that you have more visibility about your upstream supply chain, and they actually making a lot more money doing that because they can offer. Think about how cheap they can get money from the bank, right? They can just easily add a few bips, right, and loan the money to their upstream suppliers. They're still making money. And they know who are their upstream suppliers and have more visibility. And then for the banks, if you can show that record, it's much easier for them to access the default rate of that particular order. So does it make sense? I think you still have question. Yeah. Okay, cool.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Thank you very much once again.